So this is my development of the library management app project, which I end up calling Bibliotech. In this video, I will discuss my application to UI and how I developed it, which included user testing, redesigning prototypes iteratively based on the user testing, and applying user feedback to the final interface, which I implemented in Android Studio. In terms of the user and context analysis, I identified two main user groups, staff and members, with different functional requirements that need to be considered. Because of these groups, I split the application into two main sections following the login. For this project, I did make some assumptions on the library outside of the appendix, which had the project vision and functional requirements that each user wanted. I assumed that it was a local or exclusive library, because otherwise it would take a lot of staff time to manually approve requests and to give fines. I've also assumed that staff won't be able to request books themselves, or if they do, they have to do so on a separate member account. For this project, I had to take into account the accessibility, security, and compatibility over multiple devices, which I've explored in my design document. So for my initial design, I used some simplistic storyboarding on paper, just to kind of get a feel for the users and to understand who they'd be made for. Then from this, I made kind of a basic bulleted structure to design the application, see what pages I'd have, what would be on them. That's kind of what this looked like, and that was the first stage. Then I created a basic wireframe of like the kind of look they'd have and text on what each page would do and kind of their function, why they need to be there. Then, following the HCI design principles, I created more advanced Figma design, which is shown here, and that's the flow that I used for user testing. So with this flow, I had two users sit down and click through and explore the whole Figma design, and then I got them to give me feedback on the navigation, the structure, and I asked them a few questions to prompt more feedback out of them. Forwards had to make sure they signed consent forms and knew all of their rights, and that they could stop the study at any time. After this, I made a few more changes, and I listened to the feedback and I redesigned it in Figma, which gave me this final coursework view where you can click through all of the pages, and this was my final low fidelity design. And then after this, I decided to develop it in Android Studio. So if I go over, this was the look of it. These are, as you can see on the left, that's all my XML files. They're all the different pages. And this is the look of it. I already have it running over here. And on the emulator, I realized I need to, so that I could showcase this properly, I need to add a navigation system. So I did make it so that, so I did add some basic Java so that you can click through pages. So I have the login pages. This is what they look like on here. Settings, book catalog, which will have the drop down when I actually have books from the API, the personal information, that's just an example data, and the book requests, which will also have drop downs if there's any there. So for now, I've put in a staff login, although later it will determine whether you're staff or a user based off your email address. These are some of the staff ones. More catalogs, these will also be filled in once I've got functionality and data from the API. So this is kind of how my design looks. And in the future, I'll connect to the RESTful API and add more functionality. So in conclusion, thanks for watching the video. This is the rundown of Bibliotech, which we'll end up calling it. And I've showcased the entire design development process, from analysing user needs and designing prototypes to implementing the final high fidelity user interface. This final UI offers navigation between all members and staff screens, with components ready for future API integration. They're all responsive and tested, and it runs without errors, as you can see in the emulator. And now my next step is just to connect the UI with the RESTful API, so I can add notifications and functional employee management. Thank you for your time.